the reason why is because I was talking about this flyer that I'd seen. This guy who had come to bring to Pete. So at that time I didn't really understand it. So this flyer was it was glossy. When I looked at the flyer, it was glossy. That flyer looked like it was straight from the Source magazine. So me, I'm coming from those two flyers of that we were cutting like that. Then I'm seeing such a flyer. So of course I got very interested. So I started asking Pete questions. So I asked Pete, how can I do something in this gig? Luckily, this guy who had brought the flyers had not left. So Pete introduced me to this guy. You know, this guy was Mike Rabah.
No way. Guy. So, not even John, Mike Rabah.
Mike Rabah. John was still in school that time. So, Mike Rabah,
that's insane,
talks to me. He tells me, okay, I can give you Jobo for distributing these flyers. He tells me, so I tell him, there's an pal of mine, Pato, who I've worked with, Nini. So I just give him a history just to show him that I know my way around.
Yes, I know.
So he's like, sour. So he gave us the Jobo. He told us to meet him same place the next day. So we met him. So Mike gives us flyers. Then we discuss a route plan. He had told us to come with a route plan. So we say, we'll go here. And it was so elaborate. We were so ambitious. It was Mike even who told us, calm down. This plan that you have, you can't finish in a day. So just divide it into different days. Because us guys were trying to show the way we can this, cover him. What we didn't know was he was actually doing us a favor, because now he was expanding the number of days that we could work. At that time, remember again, we didn't care for chums. But Mike gave us chums. So that day, Mike gave us 5 sock. So we went, we distributed flyers, we were to meet the next day, Gioni. So the next day, mchana, we distributed flyers, Gioni, we are there, eager to meet. So we showed him, okay, so we went, we gave X number to this place, X number to this place, We've shown him, and says, okay, Sawa, this looks good. So now, tomorrow, you guys can do these others, so he gives us more flyers. Now, part of our report is, apart from the list of places we've gone to, we've written for him, here we had to panda a mat to go to that college there, here we had to panda a mat to go to that college. Maze, we've put down the exact amounts of how much we needed for college, We have change, ready, it's 300 and something from the 5 sock. Mike gives us another 5 sock. We are confused. We are like, wow.
Lucky, that's where you've come from.
Last week, we couldn't find 180 shillings each to come from Nakuru. Now this guy is giving us 500 and keep change. So Maze, we did the job. That show was the first gig, the first event that Homeboyz did, called the Mix Unplugged.
No way.
The Mix Unplugged, November 2000. Now this gig, what we realized as we went along is, now Shilton had upped their game. So they were also doing, but then I think they actually called it Livers Bash. So the Mix Unplugged was actually a Livers Bash. But Mike, Mike is the guy who had schooled in UK, so he knows how to package. And the radio show on Homeboyz was called The Mix. So now this is The Mix Unplugged, like it's live. Like we were like, hey, this is the guy to work for. So,
was he happy with you guys and the performance?
He was so happy. And then because Shilton were doing a gig same day, it was November 20-something, the year 2000, same day, a Saturday, at Ngongrescos. That Nini was called the Ban.
Yes.
So it split figures. So some guys went to this one and some guys came for our gig.
Yeah.
Now, as we got closer to the gig, because now we are so we kept on still distributing flyers, but once in a while, Mike would take us to Splash, where the gig was happening, for setup. So we'd be there eager, carrying carrying speakers, carrying setting up tents, me and Pato. Then Mike introduced us to a new department that he had just introduced. and he told us we are the bosses of that department. You know what this department was?
What is it?
Barriers Unlimited. Is it unlimited or uncrushed? So Mike had, of course, because of being exposed in the UK, he had this. He had built these barriers, crowd control barriers. So us guys were the ones in charge of them. Let me tell you, and even the years that followed, we used to carry those barriers and deal with them like they were our baby. Like we would not let anyone mess with them, you know. Now, so
I can't believe you
we went, we set up, we helped set up the gig. Then the gig happened. This gig, first of all, it also got us now even starting to get close to the likes of like Capital FM because of the Homeboyz
affiliation,
connection. Then it also we now started knowing the other DJs. So eventually we met John. So eventually we met another guy also who was a DJ who never used to like talking a lot. We met him. I'll tell you who he is.
Bro, what are my cliffhangers?
Then we met this gig, the Mix Unplugged. The big thing about it, apart from Homeboyz was a big name at that time. So there was no need to even have artists on it. It was just a DJ gig on its own.
What?
Just a DJ gig. But this gig was the official launch of 2 DJs. DJ Styles and the first female DJ in Kenya, Lil Mo.
No
Monali.
way. Yeah. What year is this?
2000.
2000.
Yes. So we do the gig.
So are you telling me that Styles was once in Homeboyz?
Yes.
What?
Styles was launched by Homeboyz.
Okay. I
Yes.
didn't even know that.
Yeah. So so after the gig, see now, of course, Homeboyz became even bigger. So
And now you've joined the Homeboyz
now
family.
we joined Homeboyz. Now here's the thing. At that time,
Are you under Salo or you're
No.
it's for per gig?
now this one was, at this point, we didn't care.
You're just in the
We
vicinity.
didn't care. You see the little money that Mike used to live with us,
Yeah.
so it was enough for bus fare.
I get, yeah, you're in
that
there.
was more than enough for us because we are all living at home. We don't have expenses. So for us, it was more about what more can we do? What more can we learn? So after the gig, Mike tells us, I want to open now a fully fledged events department. So we say, we are ready. We are ready. Now, in December, Mike gave us work. See, the gig happened in November.
Yep.
Mike after the gig, he actually paid us, I can't remember what amount, but it was a good amount. Like we were happy. Then in December, he gave us now work where we'd do the work for barriers, like going to set up barriers.
Yep,
so
yep.
the barriers used to be hired for other gigs even.
Yep.
And then we also used to help, like, to carry speakers at gigs, nini. Now, Mike and John used to live somewhere on State House.
Yep.
You know, up there.
So House of Leather.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now to get to their house, you have to, when you shuka the mat from wherever, you walk.
Yeah.
Now you walk up there. But for us, we are young.
You're
We
easy.
know, we are easy.
And you're going to Rabaz.
You know? And then now when we come out of there, we'll be in a Homeboyz branded car. You know how, let me tell you, even just a Homeboyz t-shirt with just a small logo was such a big deal.
Made it.
People wanted those t-shirts, you know. So, December we're given Jobo. So Mike tells us, Mike pays us. I can't remember what he paid us in December, but we were happy still. Then, come January, Mike tells us, okay, sawa, now I'm opening this events department. The thing is, I can only hire one of you at a salo of 5 Gs. Mazi uiangaliana with Pato. You know what we decided?
You'll take 2525.
Yes.
Hey, you guys are boys.
And that's what we did for a whole year.
A year.
1 year. No, actually, wait. Sorry, Mike. It was meant to be a 1 year contract. So we signed for 1 year. But as we went along, so now see, this was 2001. As we went along, Mike now brought another idea. Mike brought an idea of doing a PlayStation challenge.
I remember that.
Which eventually ended up being sponsored by Kiss and Energizer, Everready. So it was called the Energizer PlayStation Challenge. So now, since things became better, I think in April, Mike decided, Sawa, it's okay, I'll give each of you 5Gs. We were so happy. We were so
But
happy.
Yani, so I didn't know this about you, Fakii. You were in Homeboyz, as in events department.
Yes. I was the first
Barriers.
person in events, carried barriers, carried speakers.
I remember the PS challenge because
we did
of
the PS
playing
challenge.
Tekken.
Yes,
Tekken,
yes, it was Tekken and FIFA.
Yep.
I remember those two games, and we used to do it at Splash. We did that. I think it was once or twice in 2001, and again in 2002. That's where I met even people like Eve D'Souza. Eve D'Souza was a contestant at the Energizer PlayStation Challenge before you saw Hound Radio.
This is crazy.
Yeah. But let me tell you, Eve was such a fun person. Okay, of course, now at that time, you were drawn to her because yellow.
Rambos.
You know, but she was such a fun person. Like, even as we were setting up, she would come and ask us if we need help. You know, like, even after she had played, she would just hang out.
And she's not at Capital at this time.
Yeah, she wasn't at Capital.
Okay.
So now around this time, see, we are doing gigs with Homeboyz. So, and by gigs, I mean we are the guys who. So we used to be me, Pato, and another guy called Ellie. And I'll tell you why Ellie is important in my life. So we used to do gigs, and so Ellie was the technical guy. Ellie was now tasked with training us how to set up. We used to struggle seeing them doing things like setting up nini, amplifiers, speaker, nini. Let me tell you, Mike came and told us one thing one day, and we were like, what? It was so simple. He just told us, this thing is an in-out. Think about signal. The signal has to come from this DJ decks. So it has to come from the DJ deck to the mixer. So it means you have to connect a cable out of this into this.
Yes.
Then from the mixer, it has to go somewhere.
Yep.
So there's a cable to connect out of this into that. Then out of that into another.
Yes.
Then out of that into speakers. So we were trained ile jua kali, but we learned to the point where we'd be able to set up gigs on our own. And by gigs at that time, I mean like maybe like a small birthday party, a wedding, nini.
Yep.
So now that time, on Fridays and especially Saturdays, Homeboyz used to do like 3, 4, 5 gigs same time. And how Homeboyz was set up at that time, and Mike was very intentional with the brand at that point. There was no DJ so and so, DJ so. It was just Homeboyz. You know, you're a Homeboyz DJ. There's no individual name.
Yep.
So we'd be able to do different gigs. But the policy was you can't do 2 public gigs. So you can do a wedding, a birthday party, and one public gig. You know, because that public gig, the name will be advertised.
Yep.
And then also, Mike's circle of friends was such that people, they understood him and his business setup, so no one would say anything if they had Homeboyz are playing sijui where, and you have said also you're bringing Homeboyz too. Because also, the way the numbers were small,
business,
and the way the numbers were small in terms of DJs, the DJs were known, especially in that circle.
Yep.
So what used to happen is, in the morning, Ellie, Pato, and I, we go to Mike's house. Actually, we used to go to John's house. John used to live opposite Mike's house, like next door.
Yep.
So we used to go to John's house. John had just finished school, so it was a 2-bedroom house. He was staying in one room, so the other room was equipment, the living room was equipment. Remember, these were days of crates.
Yep.
So now, Ellie would tell us.
So when you say crates, just to explain to guys, it's where you're putting all the music.
Crates. Yes, the EPs,
the EP,
plus also there were cases for CDs.
Yeah.
So now, there's a way that John and Pete used to arrange them such that they knew this one would be suitable for this kind of gig, this one would be suitable for this kind of gig. So Pete used to come a lot for those setups, those mornings for setup. So we'd go there, we load different equipment into the car, into different cars. At that time, I think there were 2 cars. We'd load into the 2 different cars. We go set up.
Yani, I can't believe you're in Homeboyz like this. That's what's shocking me.
So we go set up for the gigs, and then, like say for a wedding, what we would do is, let's say we set up at a wedding. So me, I'm left. Pato and Ellie go to the next, and Pete sometimes go to the next gig. So see, they've left me here.
Yeah.
So my brief is, at this wedding, I've set up for, say, the some weddings used to have reception, then evening party. Some used to have garden wedding, reception, evening party. Sometimes the garden wedding was such that the wedding party is here, then the reception is upper.
Yep.
So now see me, I've been left here, me and my equipment. So I'll play the music during the garden wedding, the music for walking in. When they are done, I have to go and set up at the reception.
Yes.
Now, there's a way we used to set up where you set up minimally here, then you set up most of the stuff at the reception.
Yep.
So when you're moving from garden, you just,
chop.
Yeah. So you go, you set up, then you play at the reception. Now, reception was easy because it was mostly playing jazz, playing the traditional songs that they will want, background music when they're playing, controlling the mic, time for speeches and all that. And then in the evening, I'd be joined by now a DJ.
Because now it's
party time. Yeah.
In fact, I was going to ask when you've learned to DJ.
No.
Okay.
But I knew my way around.
Yeah.
I knew my way around. So that was our typical weekend, Friday, Saturday. Now, Fridays.
At this time, Homeboyz can do how many gigs at once?
We used to do 4, stretching to 5. And when I say stretching to 5, there'd be instances where maybe you'd find you're playing at a venue that has their own equipment. So you're just coming in to plug a CD player and you play.
The decks.
Yeah. So
like a club.
Yes, like a club. Now, Homeboyz used to play at Kengele's ABC on Fridays.
Yeah.